Hey there guys and gals, J0 Data here. Call of Duty, World War II, nostalgia rush, or genuinely good? Well, it's that time of year again when the AAA titles start rolling out for the Christmas season, and the biggest of these is of course Call of Duty. It's no secret that Call of Duty has run into some hate in the last few years, bashing it for anything from the stagnant gameplay to the microtransactions. So Activision made the call to go back to their roots and cover the World War II genre, which they haven't touched since World at War in 2008. So is this a genuinely good game, or is it the nostalgic cop-out that the media bashed it up for until launch? I've been playing annually since Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4, except for Ghost. That game can burn. Literally. I was a salty kid in my younger years, and my parents would always scold me for yelling at a video game. It even got to the point that I had to take a break to cool my head. Now, before Call of Duty, I used to be a Halo fanboy, but seeing all my friends play Call of Duty 4 and having them insist I get it turned me over to that side. Now, fast forward a year to 2008 when World at War was announced. I was pretty excited. Till I heard they were putting zombies into the game. At first I was skeptical. Why put zombies into an FPS? But after the release and playing it, all I wanted to do was see how high in waves I could get. It was a rush of excitement. That being said, I have been playing the crap out of Call of Duty World War II, and I can definitely tell you that this game is a nostalgia hype train. But that doesn't make it a bad game. Let me explain. At first, when trying out all the modes, campaign, zombies, and multiplayer, I would have said, oh shit, here we go. Another D-Day invasion, another semi-complicated map for zombies with a ton of impossible Easter eggs, and another same old multiplayer experience. All of those things are very true about the game. I've got about halfway through the campaign, and I can tell you, it's nothing you haven't seen before. The storming of the beach in Normandy is of course the first mission, with the follow-up missions taking you further and further into the French countryside. There's sniping bits, there's bits on a turret, there's bits with flamethrowers, and flat guns, and storming trenches, so on and so forth. Nothing here is anything that you most likely haven't played before, unless you are too young to remember when World War II games were all the rage. Zombies is clever as always. Actually, I thoroughly enjoyed every minute of playing the new Zombies map, but it still doesn't feel new. The new map has objectives very similar to the Der Eisendrache, the castle map from Black Ops 3. And the boss was underwhelming and easy. Multiplayer you've seen before. It's Call of Duty. I'd be surprised if you didn't know how Call of Duty multiplayer worked at this point, since the mechanics have been the same for over 10 years. Granted, they did take the jetpacks and the wall running out, which is a welcome change for someone like me, who had difficulty mastering it. The progression is fairly standard, and the menus are sort of hard to understand. The map design in multiplayer is interesting. Most maps are very small and force some very close-range encounters, making SMGs, shotguns, and high rate of fire assault rifles a commonplace, and almost necessary to dominate the tighter lanes. This is a strange move, because this is a war that was mostly dictated by rifle fire from guns like the Kar-98 and M1 Garand, which are surprisingly weak in most maps. Nothing that personally bothers me, since I primarily play with SMGs anyway, just an interesting choice, given their source material. I will admit, the first mission of the campaign is a bit of a drag. Storming the beaches of Normandy was such a significant historical importance. So even though it's a trope that all World War II games cover, I give it a pass when they do end up throwing it in. Otherwise, it is a great arcade shooter. Let's be fair, you're not really playing the campaign for the excellent story, you're in it to pop Nazi domes with a good ol' M1. In this aspect, the campaign delivers that in spades. Put on your helmet, rack your 8 rounds, and have a good time. Despite the zombies map being similar to the castle in Black Ops 3, it has some very obvious differences. One is the map. despite the size being the same size, their layout is ever so different. The final Reich has much more to offer Underground than the castle did. Also, some of the subtle changes made to zombies overall are very welcome to a zombies amateur like myself. A small change that has a huge impact is the addition of quest markers in your menu. They aren't incredibly descriptive, but they provide at least an idea of where you are at in the casual campaign. Actually, that's another thing I loved about the casual quest. I figured out 3/4 of it on my own. I only had to look up a walkthrough to find all the paintings needed to complete the Voice of God section. After just exploring, I found out most of the steps to the casual quests, and I eventually beat it on solo. The fact that it's more straightforward can be a good or a bad thing depending on how much you enjoyed the difficult nature of the old maps. I certainly enjoyed the old maps, but not having to look up comprehensive walkthroughs every time I want to do quests in a map is a welcome change. And the multiplayer. Oh boy, let me tell you, this is my favorite part so far. I am huge on FPS shooters, ever since playing the original Halo in my high school's computer room during lunch. I'm not incredibly good, but I can certainly hold my own. When Activision said they were coming back to the roots, all I can say is that they accomplished it. I start every round by chucking a grenade at the enemy team, just like COD 4. Snipers, drop shots, and the fast gameplay are all here. I have a very distinct Black Ops 2 feel here that just hits me right in the feels. Not saying multiplayer is without problems. There have been times where I just sit in a lobby looking for a match to join for a solid 10 minutes. Hitboxes have always been an issue for me, especially when I'm running and gunning with a shotgun. I swear I shoot a guy point blank in the chest and it either does very little damage or I miss entirely. In the laggier lobbies, I would run past the gap only to get killed by a guy camping in that hallway after I moved 5 feet away from the gap. Don't even get me started with the snipers. When the description of the gun says, "one shot kills from the waist up," you'd think it would be a very effective weapon if you aren't accurate for headshots, only for it to turn up as a hit marker. Yeah, it might sound like minor complaining from a salty guy, but don't tell me you've never experienced any of those at least once since the game's release. So nostalgic, while also borrowing ideas from previous entries and other popular games? Absolutely. But does that make it not fun and not worth your time? I would argue that this game is still well worth your $60 this season.